Hello, my name is Sam Blevins. I'm a music teacher and worship pastor at our church. I've been kicking around this idea to just kind of record a quick acoustic guitar for worship in a nutshell, kind of a video. This is probably something I'm going to expand and do more individual videos on in the future that'll go a little bit more in depth, but this is kind of just a quick overview on what I think some of the most important concepts in order to play guitar in a worship setting would be. A lot of the things I'm going to talk about, I'm not going to spend time to go in depth and explain exactly what I'm doing. I'm just going to kind of breeze over it. So I wouldn't say that this video is for extreme beginners. Like if you haven't really been playing chords, if you don't know your basic cowboy chords, then this is probably going to be moving a little bit too fast for you. For those of you who have been playing guitar for a long time, then a lot of this will be pretty basic. So it's kind of in the middle. It's just, if you have a decent start on guitar, you know your open, cowboy chords like your G and your D and stuff like that, and you're just looking for a couple next steps, then this might be right where you are. So when you're playing guitar in worship, the most important key shape to know is the key of G. Mostly because it has a great sound, a lot of songs use it, and then also if you get comfortable with this shape, you can use a capo to move around and play most keys. Okay, so let's go over the chords that I'm going to be using in this example. So my main chord is G. I prefer this shape where you link these two fingers down here. You have both your B string and your E string there. Okay, and then the rest is all the same. So this is your G chord. It's a beautiful chord. You can also do the other version where you have the open B. I switch around between the two. Mostly I do this one. Okay, the second chord is going to be C. And then we're actually going to be doing C2, which looks like this. You take these two fingers and scoot them straight down. So it looks very similar to your G. And this is a 5-string chord. You're not going to hit your low E string. Okay, then we have our D chord. Okay, so for most of these chords, these two fingers right here are going to stay the same. They're going to stay linked right there. They're not going to move. For the D chord, your pinky does have to lift. Okay, but this ring finger is going to stay anchored. So here's your D chord. Okay, and then the fourth chord that we're going to use is the E minor. Okay, in order to play the E minor, the textbook example is like this, where you have those two fingers there, and you do 6 strings. I actually prefer to do this version when I'm playing in the key of G. I've already got these two fingers here. This actually works to do the E minor chord like this. You can keep those two fingers here just like you did for your G chord and your C2 chord, but you just take these two fingers and put them in the spots that you would, the frets, where you would for a normal E minor. Okay, so here's your 4 chords: G, C2, E minor, and D. Using those 4 chords, you can play most worship songs. A couple off the top of my head is like, I wanna sit at your feet, drink from the cup in your hand, lay back against you and breathe, feel your heartbeat. And then the stand is a really popular one. So I'll stand with arms high and heart abandoned in awe of the one who gave it all. And then I could go on. So will I, 100 billion times. God of creation, there at the start, before the beginning of time. All the same chords. Okay. Now you might say, well, every song is not in the key of G. So what do we do then? What if we have a song in the key of A? Well, if you can memorize the names of your notes on the low E string, then you can play in any key using this shape. So let's talk about how to do that. So the names of the notes are open E, and then F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, but more commonly it's called B flat, B, C, C sharp, D, D sharp, and then on the double dots, the 12th fret here, that's when it starts over and you're back to E, 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 okay? And then from here on up, if you're playing up here, it's just a repeat of everything that you did down here. Okay, now you might say, how do I know which notes have a sharp and which notes don't? For example, when you said E and then you didn't say E sharp, you said F. There's two notes that don't have a sharp, and that is going from E to F and from B to C. The way that you can remember that is the Beatles song Let It Be. Let it be E. B doesn't have a sharp, E doesn't have a sharp. So that's one way that you can remember it. Okay, so how do we use this? When you're playing in the key of G, this note right here, with your middle finger on the E string, that's your G note. E, F, F sharp, G. That's your G note. So let's say we need to play in the key of A. Okay, so we're going to take this note and we're going to scoot it up to our A note. G, G sharp, A. Okay, and then we're going to put our capo down so that we still have this empty fret to the side of our G chord. And now we're playing an A chord. I'd sing a song, but I'm just going to show you instead. Same chords here, but we're actually playing in the key of A. The chords that are sounding out of the guitar are now an A, a D, an E, and an F sharp minor. All right, so it sounds different. It feels the same though. Okay, so you can use that to play by ear, or if you have chord charts with the key of G, you can just use the capo to move around and play different keys to match your singer. Okay. So that's how to use a capo, how to play chords in the key of G. Again, I'm not going into detail. We haven't talked strum patterns. I haven't really slowly broken down the shapes on the chords on these and stuff like that. You can find those in other videos or other places. I'm just kind of moving quickly to keep this video short. Okay, now something else that you will benefit from knowing is learning a major scale shape. The one that I've used for the longest and I love for worship music. A lot of people, when they're taking guitar lessons from a friend or something like that, they'll learn the pentatonic scale, like the A minor pentatonic scale, which is great for like blues and rock and stuff like that. That's the shape that most people learn for their first scale, and that can be great. But for worship, I like a little bit more of a tonal major sound. So the scale that I use the most is the G major scale shape. And so the way that you play that is you're going to start in the same chord position right here. You're going to start with middle finger on your 3rd fret. Okay, and the shape goes using your finger numbers 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm not going to say it using fret numbers. I'm going to say it using finger numbers because I want you to be able to be comfortable with moving this around the neck. Okay, so it's going to go 2, 4, and then 1, 2, 4. 1, 2, 4. And then the next string is 1, 3, 4. And then it's 1, 3, 4 again. And then 2, 4. And then 1, 2. Okay, so faster. Okay, and you can rewatch the video if you need to memorize the fingering for that. But that is such a great scale shape, and there's so much that you can do with that. So when you're playing in the key of G, a scale is simply your toolbox of notes that you're allowed to use when you play in a specific key. So if we're playing a song in the key of G and one person's playing, let's say you have another guitarist who's strumming the chords and you're wanting to play some kind of lead line or some kind of melody. As long as you are using the notes within the scale, it will fit. It might not be the best fit. There might be some notes where you just want to pass through and land on a different note, but you're never more than one note going up or going down to get to a good sounding note. Okay, so for example, it's hard to do both at the same time. I really should like record myself playing some chords so you can hear what they would sound like together, but I'll just play some lead line stuff by itself. So anyways, just playing some little stuff, but this shape is really good. You might notice that I didn't stay right here. I moved up a little bit. There's a concept that I teach my newer students called scoot ups. It's not a very fancy name for it, but the cool thing about this scale shape is you can actually scoot up 2 frets, and that note is valid on every single string. It's actually within the scale. So you can go 2, 4, scoot up 2, then you go back, 1, 2, 4, scoot up, and then 1, 3, 4, scoot up, 1, 3, 4, scoot up, 2, 4, scoot up 2, and then 1, 2, 4, scoot up. Okay, all of those notes are valid, and there's so much wiggle room that you have within that. Now, how do we do that in another key? So that's all for the key of G. In order to do this for another scale, let's take our example of the key of A that we did earlier. So play in the key of A, we did our capo, and we moved up 2 frets. Okay, you actually don't even need the capo in order to do this, the soloing, do the scale. You can if you want, if you already have it on and you happen to be playing the chords, but this is how you would do it without. So it's actually the exact same thing, you just scoot up. And the reason that I taught this using the fingers rather than the fret numbers is so that you can do that exact same fingering, but starting on the A. And as long as you know this shape, you're now playing an A major scale, as long as you're starting on this A. And then with the scoot ups, there's a lot that you can do with that. That's the key of A. And that will work as long as you start on any note. Okay? So that is a very basic, let's see, we're at almost 13 minutes. In 13 minutes, we've talked about how to play in the key of G, how to use a capo to move around and play in multiple different keys using the key of G, and also some nice chord shapes that I like the sound of when you play in the key of G. And then we've also talked about scales, using the G major scale shape in order to kind of make some solos. And when you're starting off with playing solos and playing lead lines and stuff, another YouTube channel I like is Steve Stein Guitar. If you haven't seen him, check him out. He's incredible. Good guy. And so something that he talks about in his videos is a concept called meandering. Meandering is kind of taking a scale shape and you just kind of move around, kind of create little goals for yourself. Say, okay, I'm going to go down. I want to jump to my B string. I'm going to play a note here. And you just kind of create little goals for yourself. You wander around and play in your scale. And it's not very musical. It's more just like getting comfortable with playing the scale and knowing what notes are available to you. And then you take the next step up and then you start really listening and find notes that are better fit than others and try to add some musicality to it. If you like the sound of a note with a particular chord, remember that position. So remember that if you're playing your C chord, you might like this note right here or something like that. You find the notes that fit better for that specific chord or something like that. Okay, so that's 2 steps that you can take with soloing in order to get comfortable with, creating musical lines. I think we'll go ahead and leave it at that for right now. Again, this is just kind of my first take at doing a quick overview video at this. If this is successful, I might break it down into more detailed videos, taking each concept slower and slower and maybe doing a series. But I hope this was helpful for somebody, and keep playing, and thanks for watching.